it's still Nigeria Decides, and we're reaching you live from our studios right here in Lagos. Reports reaching us right now is telling us that INEC has lifted the ban on parties' campaign. Now, of course, we know that after the announcement of the postponement of the elections, political parties were asking that INEC allow them to go back to their constituencies, to their base to begin campaigns, because there's nothing really left to do while they wait for Saturday. But then it seems like that prayer has been answered.
Now we still have Peter Eigbedion, security consultant, still staying with us. We also have Funmi Ayoola Dosunmu, the YPP aspirant House of Representatives through their constituency. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I find this pretty much interesting, this news reaching us that INEC has lifted a ban. Some would say that if INEC keeps on churning out conflicting reports, first you say there is a ban that has not been shifted, and now a few hours later you tell us the ban has been lifted and political parties can continue campaigning. What do you make of their stance, especially when their integrity still stands in question?
I actually think that their hand was forced. INEC was trying to, I think what they were trying to do was to ensure that nothing changed until Friday, until Saturday when we do the votes. But when you have the two big parties who have decided that they'll go ahead with the campaign either way, it was just best to, to fall in line. Because there's no point. I mean, will you start penalizing people for going ahead with the campaign, considering the fact that the Constitution says that campaign goes on until 24 hours before the election, which will now be Thursday night. So they really don't have a leg to stand on, which is why they had to...
Are you sounding this way because your party is also going to be a beneficiary of this?
Well, the truth of the matter is that
the ban.
You take advantage of every little opportunity that comes. I mean, this election is going to be a whole different ball game. So we need to take advantage of every opportunity that comes.
I think INEC should have, and this is my personal opinion again from a professional standpoint, I think INEC should have held on to the ban. If you will be critically introspective, you realize that the fact that the elections were postponed the way they were has created more acrimony. There's mudslinging, people accusing INEC of bias, people accusing PDP of being the one responsible for the shift in dates of the elections. You have the APC saying, so the both, especially the main parties, the frontline parties, their supporters are agitated even more than before. So if you allow people to go in and begin to campaign now, just 3-4 days to the main elections, I mean, you're only creating a platform for them to conflict.
Before now, 3-4 days.
But this for the presidential elections.
Yes.
I mean,
3-4 days to the elections.
Almost every party had gone on to the 6 states. So what more campaigning is there to do?
Another question is this. Some political parties were calling for compensation, that they had already fielded some of their officers across the states of the Federation and the FCT as well. So where are they supposed to, if you are now pushing for more campaigns, that means money. So why then did you cry foul initially? That's another question some groups are asking. Because now everybody is saying, yay, we have more chance to win votes. Yeah. But you were still crying nay a few days ago.
I mean, prior to the elections, and I'll say this and let you say you have your turn. Prior to the supposed date for the elections last Saturday, I doubt that there were still swing voters or undecided voters. Everybody had practically made up their mind. What you're going to do now will amount to just pouring water in the ocean.
I'm not sure I agree with you. I can tell you that some positive news has come out just because of the postponement. YPP has gotten some,
some protest votes.
Yes, protest votes. So really, that's, I mean, and let me tell you the truth about the parties complaining about having spent money. On Friday night, I was at our party secretariat after 12, mobilizing polling agents. You pay for their transport, you do all that. And then on Saturday, that means that back Friday night, I'm going to spend that same money. We're going to have to spend the same money again, remobilizing the same people. So the truth of the matter is that there's a lot of money that had been spent. So there's no reason for them to
But here you are excited about the news of having an opportunity to campaign. So the question we're still asking is, where's
beyond
the money?
The opportunity, where's the money?
No, you can do campaign. You see, the problem I have with Nigeria is that everybody thinks that campaigning has to do with it. You must spend money for you to campaign.
But parties were asking for money.
Yes, the truth of the matter is that you will spend money, but this last minute campaigning is not about. That's why that is one of the problems I kept having. You want to talk to somebody, they say, give me money. But I think things are changing now, right?
You're still
I still had a meeting. I had meeting with a few people yesterday.
Jingles will be played again. Is that not going to be paid for?
See, it doesn't have to be. This campaigning now, it doesn't have to be jingles, it doesn't have to be TV, it doesn't have to be adverts, it doesn't have to be all that. It could be simple one-on-one, canvassing, small groups, you know, small groups who either had not made up their minds really. Gives you another chance to get into them and say, you guys, look now, see what's happening now, don't you think that you should? And that's what I'm saying. So it doesn't have to be large campaigns, spend so much money. It could be just be inroads into they could be smaller campaigns.
But that's your thinking.
Yes.
That's your thinking. The other parties probably won't be thinking this way, and some of them have a huge war chest of money to spend. But now that you've opened those gates, for everybody to come back out in the system, it's going to, left to me, it's going to cause more conflict. What you have people who are bent on tearing each other apart online. And now, if you see the comments, they are more vile now.
Another group of
Let's look at the issue of voters getting confused as to party logos. That's a big issue. And if you're telling me that, oh, you don't need money to do these campaigns, how do people know your logos? How can they tell that this is your party?
Continue with that
if you do not continuously use the media? You know, especially TV and sometimes even radio. By the things you say, people can tell which is your party. Because it's going to be a very difficult task for those people who are going to vote for you, especially those who are yet to really know you as much. Of course, the big parties, the ones that have the cock and the umbrella and the broom, people know them. What about you guys? You're the newcomers.
The one thing that I found out is that if somebody has decided to vote for a party, more often than not, they go out of their way to find out the logo. I remember some women I sat with were saying, look, we're going to vote for Obi. And, you know, I waited for them to finish talking. I said, okay, so what's the name of our party? And all of them were like, nobody knew the party. They just knew it was Obi. And I said to them, look, you guys, her picture is not going to be on the ballot paper. So go and find out which party she is at. That's the only way you can go for her. What I found out that if you're going to vote for somebody, first thing you will find out is what party. Now, the people who have problems with identifying party are the grassroots, the illiterates, you know, and I'm not sure that this couple of days, that kind of campaign is what is going to, you know, I'm not sure that the campaigning now will get down to that level anymore because you don't have that kind of time.
But quickly
so you're not going
now,
to reach out to the grassroots.
I would also like to have your reaction. Yes, removing the ban which prohibits political parties to campaign has been lifted and does not necessarily affect INEC's coordination of activities. But some school of thought would also say, well, if you can give room for this campaign, why not also give room as well for the collection of PVCs? Just over the weekend, last 2 weeks, there was the room given where people could actually collect the PVCs. Some within that space of time weren't able to get there, as we know those who are just nonchalant about getting their PVCs. But don't you think if INEC is willing to shift grounds for campaigns, don't you think it should also be fair enough to open the grounds for collection of PVCs?
If on that basis, it would have made sense for campaigns to continue. If people that didn't have PVCs before were allowed to collect the PVCs, then there would be reason for campaigns to continue. Again, this leads me to something else. I remember that there's supposed to be a cap on how much each party can spend for campaigning. I don't know that INEC is following through on that. And especially in this window of a few days, I don't know how INEC will ensure...
Has any party reached that limit where they've stated
we don't know that. I'm not sure that
but the truth is, parties, I mean, I know this, I always make reference to this. In 2014, SERAP officially asked for political parties to make known their party finances. We're in 2019. They have not till now. SERAP has even taken these political parties to court. So, I mean, if the finances of these parties are not made public, how can you even say you can trail them? I mean, I don't even know if INEC has the manpower to do that.
Exactly the problem.
So bringing it to manpower now, if you're going to give people their PVCs now, already INEC has a logistical nightmare on its hands.
Exactly.
How are they going to Beg your pardon?
So they can't do PVC.
They can't do PVC. So with that as well, they're constrained. I feel really sorry for them because a lot of them are ad hoc staff. Some of them have no experience prior to now. So you're up against a system that's failing, and there's little that they can do. I commiserate with every Nigerian who's been disenfranchised right now by INEC. It's a price we have to pay for this democracy.
You initially said that, well, when the ban was put in place, we actually had a little bit of sanity when we are looking at criticisms and sharp responses and comments from all political parties. Now we are having a resurrection of that as well. Again, how do you think this would also shake up the policy as we are counting down to Saturday?
See, the truth of the matter is that even if they didn't lift the ban, on campaigning.
No, but there was a little bit of sanity.
Sanity. There was people were more restrained.
APC and PDP, they came out from day one to say, look, we're not going to adhere to this.
Because at the end of the day, all of the statements that come from these political parties are what usually fuels conversation.
Exactly.
If they've been told no campaign, you saw that they all kept their cool.
See, and
did not even utter a word.
When you use the word no campaign, do you know that on election day, there are people called canvassers?
Yes.
You know, there are people called canvassers. They go into the houses and tell people, come out and vote for this party. Come on. Do you understand? So when you say no campaign, you have to understand the campaigns are all, they're different tiers and different levels, and it's not the big.
So does it mean that those canvassers are
are
breaching the no campaign rule?
Well,
because you just told me that the different tiers of, campaigning. So if it's a zero campaign policy on election day, then canvassers should be arrested.
But canvassers are allowed.
The system is
the law
flawed.
contradicts
the system
itself.
Absolutely does. It does everywhere.
They have canvassers going into houses, telling people, come out and vote, come, let's go vote, come, let's go. And the person who's your canvasser, I mean, I know of a party that they're having 3 canvassers in every polling unit. So you know that when they say put a ban on campaigning, I'm sure that it's because they're different, like I said, there are different levels of campaign.
Yes,
I mean, when I'm talking to somebody next door, I can say, look, my neighbor, have you decided to vote for me? Am I campaigning?
You are campaigning.
Yes, but then the truth of the matter is that who's going to know?
I see.
Politicians. On a lighter note, we got the news of the lift on the ban, and you're here right in time for that. So I think for Twitter's I mean, you're doing that already.
You're not allowed to campaign here.
Okay, now you said, well, within the space of time, you can still convince some individuals that have not really made up their mind, and Peter thinks otherwise, that you cannot make as much of an impact. But I would like us to elaborate your stance now. How much of an impact do you think 4 days to Saturday would? No, 3 days, because campaigns would have ended by Friday. So 3 days to go. How much of an impact do you think this would punch through the brains of the electorate, and how much of a level of receptiveness do you expect from the voters? Because trust me, some individuals have said, well, we are not going to necessarily participate in the votes because of all of the things that happened, and others have a stronger will to say, well, we are going for this. So how do you think the pendulum would swing, especially when you're analyzing all of this?
Let me start by saying that, look, what happened, the postponing of the elections actually disenfranchised a number of people.
True.
And they're so upset. So they're looking for somebody. People who either told we're not going to vote at all have decided, you know what, we're going to vote this thing. I mean, people who had said, well, I'm not going to go out, they said, look, how can this be happening in my country? And so now you have a lot of people who want to come out and vote who didn't plan to. You have people who are disenfranchised with their parties because of what has happened, and they're looking for
people who can't travel back to their constituencies anymore.
Yes, so you have a lot of people who are disenfranchised, and so they're willing to take a chance on somebody. I got a call on Saturday night. This group of people who we had been talking to, who were already going for one particular party, they said, look, you know what, come back, let's discuss again.
There are also people who are apathetic right now, who apathy are setting because the whole emotional investment into these elections that they didn't hold. Some people are like, you know what, the process is not even worth it. Let me just forget about it. So you have those number of people. So I do concede that in some measure, the lifting of the ban on campaigning can help to encourage voter participation as opposed to apathy, but again, in the larger scheme of things, it is going to be just dropping.
We all listened to the INEC chairman when he was delivering his speech on just a few days ago, a few hours ago, and oh, that was yesterday. Why do I say a few days ago? A few hours ago, he reeled out some achievements that are supposed to have been gotten. Today, they are expected to have achieved X, Y, Z. Tomorrow, they're expected to achieve all of those. Now, how do you think the distribution and a whole lot more would also play out? Because if it is saying that, well, we're lifting this ban, do you think that the other achievements as well that INEC might have set out for itself, it should be able to achieve? Because it initially came out with a strong stance that their word is their word and they are not lifting any ban or they are not making any change in plan. So now that they've released that, do you think they would be able to achieve all of the things set out by Friday? Distribution and mobilization of, or do you think this ban
doesn't affect,
lifting?
it's not administrative.
No, my question is, do you necessarily think that this is just to shift attention as a distraction?
No, I think it's because the parties had decided they were going to go ahead anyway. PDP and APC came up this morning saying that, look, this is what the law says, and we're going to stick by the law. The law says we can continue campaigning. I mean, the best thing INEC could possibly have done is just to lift that ban. Because if they were taking the court on this issue, they most likely would lose. So this is not about whether they were ready or they're not ready. The lifting of the campaign does not affect them in any way. I mean, it has nothing to do with the administrative work that they're doing. It really doesn't affect INEC.
But it does in a way, because if I remember correctly, INEC is supposed to send a representative to the campaign activities of each party. So because INEC is overstretched now, I also believe that that's one of the reasons why they were requesting for. Correct me, you're the one who's active in this.
No, let me put it this way: if the party was having a rally, yes, a big major rally, yes.
But that's what the campaign is.
INEC is supposed to. But what is happening right now, this last couple of days, is not about the big rally. Everybody has done their
if it's a rally, INEC sends someone.
But if it's supposed to, no, put it this way. What INEC said to us was, if you're having a rally, right, you will get a police report. You get police approval, and then bring us the police approval, and then we will have people come over to your rally. Yeah. So when I was talking to them, I said, "What do you mean?" So she said, "Why do you want people at a rally?" They said they want to be sure they don't check how much we're spending and stuff like that. I said, "So where were you 2 weeks ago when the other party was giving people 2,000 and where were you?" She said they didn't invite them to the rally. I said, "So you're waiting," and that's what happened. They always wait to be invited. So it really the policy of having people at rallies
doesn't really work.
Yeah.
I'd like us to quickly just shift our focus now to the APC caucus meeting, and PDP is also expected to hold its own meeting as well. Now, it came out with a couple of outcomes, and the president has said, well, security agencies on election day are supposed to deal with any individual who is seen snatching ballots or attempting to snatch ballots or disrupt the whole election process. What do you make of that stance?
You're a security expert.
Is that a reinforcement? Because the word said, deal ruthlessly with thugs.
I also saw a statement a few minutes ago where the wording of what we're saying now is different, where the presidency is saying they didn't say that in those terms. So again, I would.
But there's a video evidence.
There's video evidence, but and this is the thing. Sometimes the damage control that they do, some of these things are said in the heat of the moment. I don't think it was the right thing for him to have said at such a meeting and for that statement to come out publicly. There should be trained. There should be people who are professionals in his team. You don't let that kind of information come out from you, because typically now. Look at what happened with the guy who was shot by a customs officer just yesterday. People are afraid. People are wary of the system. And then you have a CNC who is saying deal ruthlessly, use every means possible, use maximum force, because that's what it implies in a way, that use maximum force if necessary to apprehend people who are trying to interfere with the process on election day. You're going to have trigger-happy cops in the minds of people. So people don't want to go out to vote. So this is not, it wasn't a smart move on his part.
So we might have a case of bullets flying, and then, of course, people will be scared.
We're hoping that doesn't happen. But again, these things are open to ambiguities. And you shouldn't have someone at his level. He's a major, he's a general. And then he should bring that experience.
He was a general.
He's still addressed as general.
He's a retired general.
Yes, he's still addressed as general. So, the training didn't leave him. Okay, retired general. Retired general.
But my question is, in a case, the people who are making a case for what the president said, we cannot keep having these people who are in, the habit of snatching ballot boxes. We want to go beyond that, and we want to put an end to it. And Mr. President is saying, by any means possible, within the ambit of
it shouldn't be coming from the president.
It could also, because of the ambiguity, it could also mean you have been given the responsibility to make sure that whoever is engaged in this act of ballot box snatching, apprehend them. If they are armed, well, make sure that you disarm them. But within the ambit of the law, they're saying this is right because it is also a way to check.
But the statement is coming on the heels of an APC National Caucus meeting. It's not coming from the confines
But it was spoken by a president who is a sitting president. It wasn't spoken by the campaign or the party leader.
Let me come in here.
Okay.
Yeah, yesterday I was at a meeting with a group of people, and they were like, look, what are you doing about securing your votes? And they were like, look, last election, they had voted for a particular party en masse and gone totten men
showed up.
Mercenaries showed up and started shooting. They lost a couple of people, and they snatched the ballot boxes. So they were like, look, what are you doing? Are you going to have security men guarding your boxes, guarding your votes? Or are we just going to come out and there's nobody protecting us? And it was a real fear. I found out that everywhere you go, people, that's the first thing they ask you, how are you securing your votes? People are really scared of the fact that we're going to have violence. We have parties who are training men as we speak to go and harass people, that kind of thing. So when the president says, do something to ensure that to secure your ballot, I don't think he has I don't think, maybe...
The director was to the security agency.
Yeah, maybe the way he said it was a bit... but the implication behind it is very true. I've been telling people, I said, look, all of you fight for this particular election.
But I just think what's most responsible is that when we're looking at all of these political actors, the manner, the kind of words you use to deliver, no matter the intent, it has to be carefully constructed.
Exactly.
You can't just say something come out and then you later try to retract control. But they now also say that after the elections, they would have to investigate, or they would investigate into this supposed incompetence of INEC for having postponed the election. Now, another question will be raised. So what if they don't come into power?
What if they don't win?
They don't win this election. How then does that investigation take place?
INEC should audit itself, and that's why there's a word independence in their makeup, Independent National Electoral Commission. If they should audit themselves, I mean, even for basic project management, you learn that after everything, you should do lessons learned. I'm hoping that they can put that in place. You should have firms like KPMG. I'm sorry, I'm calling names. I shouldn't be advertising for them, but you should have firms that are able to audit them and help them improve their processes, because it's not just about one election, it's about subsequent elections. For instance, there's some states in Nigeria whose governorship elections will not hold in this cycle, they will hold in 2020 and it may be 2021.
Another school would also question that how does an entity or a body do a self-audit when it says, well, we've provided beds and provided mats and fuel and etc., and then we saw pictures go viral of NYSC core members who have decided to serve as ad hoc staff for INEC, and they weren't properly catered for, yet that wasn't addressed intently.
Yet. I think, from what I've heard, the INEC chairman is a man of good character, and I think it would have pained him to see our youth exposed.
No, I'm just asking for the capacity of self-audit.
I understand that the NYC in Lagos have said they're not working next weekend. Because
for these elections?
Officially, is there an official statement?
Yes, this is because I heard they're going to protest on Thursday on their CD day, that they're going to be having.
But as of this morning, NYSC had the INEC official in Lagos had spoken. I listened to it on the news saying that their monies they've been told and directed to pay those monies for the duty that they did, whether the election held or not.
No, let me tell you what happened in Lagos. Lagos was peculiar. They were supposed to pay them 8,500 naira to all the core members initially. Then after the elections, they pay the balance of the money. Every other state paid 8,500. Lagos State paid only 4,500 now to the NYSC. Apart from the fact that they were now left to cater for themselves, there was even cases of some of them being raped in Apapa and in a few places. Yes, so the children, the NYSC is saying that, I mean, the the core members have decided that they're going to have a protest. Because I was talking to quite a number of them between yesterday and today, and they said they were going to have a protest on Thursday, and that they were not willing to go ahead with the elections on Saturday. I don't know how INEC is going to deal with that.
But there's not been an official statement from the
I'm talking about
the guys on ground.
The guys on ground, not INEC, not NYC as a body. Now the actual guys, because it wasn't like NYC was told. It wasn't an official thing with NYC. They just called them and said, if you want to do this. So it's not all NYC that were mandated. It wasn't a mandate. So it was if you were interested in doing this.
Okay. And now this is our last segment and the last topic that we'll be discussing. Now the APC actually pointed fingers at the PDP saying that, well, INEC released this information. That's part of the outcomes of the APC caucus meeting. They said, well, INEC actually revealed or disclosed that information about the postponement to the PDP. And now, since the PDP is also going to be having their own emergency meeting as well, one of the issues they'll be touching on is the president's reaction and the APC's supposed pointing finger at them. How do you think this whole back and forth would also play out again? Will we just continue to see the blame game, or does that necessarily mean that INEC truly is autonomous or independent?
It's likely to happen that the PDP will in return accuse the APC. But I'm hoping that in these few days left to the elections that somehow people will rise above the pettiness of what we've seen on the campaign trails thus far and just encourage people to come out to vote, focus on the positives. I mean, trading blame over who said what, who leaked what, will not solve the problem.
But some are actually surprised that all of this blame game is going on, and then they believe that, well, maybe INEC is not even trying to satisfy any of these political actors. INEC is now trying to assume the role that it's named.
There will always be conjecture. There will always be conjecture, because if you remember, a few days before this postponed elections, I know there was a governor of a state that came out to say that this was going to happen, and there was a PDP governor. There was also an ex-PDP governor that alluded to the fact that an APC was in a meeting, and the outcome of the meeting will be the postponement of the elections. So, if we keep trading blame and pointing fingers, it's going to only heat up the polity more and cause divisions. I mean, you saw what happened at the Lagos rally for APC the other day when one of the prominent stalwarts of the party was stabbed. You don't want to, and this is my concern about them lifting the bans on campaigning, because at some point in time, there will be confrontations now. The stakes are higher, people are more intense, tensions are aflame. I'm hoping that in these last few hours, in these last few days, that the mudslinging will stop and people will just wait till the election day and then go and cast their votes as they should.
But I mean, away from what he's saying, the Nigerian politicking scene is always about mudslinging, trading blames. I mean, there's not necessarily an ideology that these people can actually, speak on. So,
no, to be honest with you,
can we all of a sudden, can a miracle happen in
No, but it is happening. No, I mean, let's be frank.
Is it?
The new crop of
politicians.
We're talking about issues. We're doing issue-based campaigning. Nobody's talking about mudslinging. No, that's not the point. The point is go out there and tell people what you can do differently.
But that happened a few days ago between your presidential candidate and candidate of the ANN when they were arguing about who has more votes. And it seemed a bit petty at some point. So, I mean, nobody's immune from this. This is a national malady that we have to find a way to cure.
Well, the truth is, you will have arguments. That's normal. That's a normal thing that will happen everywhere. There will be arguments, but that they will now break down into mudslinging and all that. It's a different.
I saw the Channels TV verdict, and it was.
All right. Well, it's been an interesting show this evening, of course, with mudslinging and, of course, governors speaking giving death toll when security agencies have kept mum. It's been a potpourri of issues this evening, but we want to say thank you very much, Peter Eigbedion, Wattsmith. He is a security consultant, and of course, Funmi Ayoola Dosunmu, YPP aspirant, House of Representatives, Surulere constituency. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And this is where we say our goodbyes on the show.
That's where the cookie crumbles, definitely. That's all we can take on Nigeria Decides tonight. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other political stories and issues leading up to the election. It's just 4 days to go.
I have had a beautiful evening enjoying this passionate conversation.
It's going to be another day tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm David Alabi. Many thanks for watching. Bye for now.